It's this sense of being close. Not there yet, but almost. Like the move is coming soon, the commitment is right around the corner. And any day now, they're going to step into the thing they keep saying they're going to do. And it feels okay. It feels like forward motion. But it isn't forward motion. It's just a comfortable place to stand. Most people don't realize how long they've been standing there. A year goes by and they're still almost ready. 2 years, 5, and they haven't been lazy. They've been learning, thinking, growing. But almost ready is a spot you can occupy forever without ever having to show anybody anything. It feels like a pit stop. For most people, it's the whole race. The reason this hits talented people harder than most is pretty simple. When you've always caught on quickly, always figured things out faster than the people around you, you develop this deep sense that whenever you actually decide to move, you'll be able to close the gap fast. So the gap doesn't scare you, it doesn't pressure you, it just sits there looking manageable, and manageable things don't make you move. And that's the quiet problem. Urgency is what pushes people from thinking about something to actually doing it. Pressure creates movement. But when you're talented, the pressure never really builds. Your own ability keeps releasing it. The thing that was supposed to be your biggest advantage ends up being the reason you never felt like you had to go. And there's the way other people treat you. When you have a gift, people can usually sense it. They tell you. They expect things from you. They talk about you like you're going places. And after enough years of that, it starts to feel like you've already arrived somewhere. Like the recognition of what you could do is the same as actually doing it. It isn't, but it feels close enough to keep you comfortable. Almost ready is a way of protecting yourself from something specific. If you haven't really tried yet, haven't fully committed, haven't put everything on the line, then you're still untested. And untested means unlimited. You could still be everything people think you are. But the second you actually go, you become real. Real things have ceilings. Real things fall short sometimes. Almost ready keeps that risk off the table, and most people don't even realize that's what they're doing. But that protection isn't free. Every month you spend in that spot, you're burning actual time. Days, weeks, months that aren't coming back. And talent isn't an unlimited resource. It's a head start. If you never leave the starting line, a head start is worth nothing. It's just a memory of what you could have done. Something else happens the longer you stay in almost ready. Your picture of yourself starts to come loose from reality. Because you haven't actually tested yourself in a real environment lately, maybe ever, at the level that counts. Your confidence is based on old information. You're still going off the memory of being the quick one, the gifted one, the one who got it first. But that was in a different room. The room you're trying to get into now is different. And your untested read on yourself in that room isn't something you can rely on. The way out isn't dramatic. It's usually pretty quiet. It's just deciding to close the distance between where you're standing and where the work actually starts. Not the perfect plan, not the right moment. Just one real move, specific enough, committed enough that you can't talk yourself back out of it the next morning. That's what breaks the pattern. But it has to be real, and it has to be now. Because the right moment isn't coming. Things just get lined up enough. That's all you ever get. Talented people figure something out pretty early that most people don't learn until much later. They figure out that potential gets rewarded. Not just noticed, actually celebrated. The kid in class who picks things up fast gets a different kind of attention. The one in practice who just has it gets treated differently. People see it, they say something about it, and it feels good. Of course it does. Everybody wants to be seen. And for the talented person, that happens early and often, and for something they didn't even have to work for. The issue isn't that it happens. The issue is what it does to your wiring over time. When you spend years getting positive feedback for potential, for what you could do, not what you've done. You start organizing yourself around earning that feedback. The work isn't the point anymore. The applause is the point. But eventually, the world stops clapping for potential. The older you get, the less credit you get just for being gifted. People start wanting to see the output, and the talented person, used to being celebrated before they've produced anything, often doesn't know what to do with that shift. What a lot of them do is find their way back to rooms where the old currency still works. Rooms where showing the gift, having the knowledge, being the impressive one, is still enough to get the reaction they're used to, and they stay there. Not because they sat down and decided to avoid harder environments. Just because those rooms feel familiar. They feel warm. The rooms where only results count feel cold and indifferent by comparison. So people drift toward warmth, even when the warmth is in the wrong direction. What makes this hard to catch is that it looks legitimate from the outside. Networking, community, finding your people, all of that has real value. But when the community you're building your life around is one where untested potential is what gets you status, and when collecting that recognition becomes a bigger driver than building something real, you've built yourself a very comfortable dead end. I've seen people put together what looks like a pretty successful professional life on the back of almost. They're connected, they're respected. People talk about them like they're somebody. And the person themselves feels like things are going well. But going well at what, exactly? At being liked by people who believe in your potential. That's something. But it doesn't build anything. It doesn't produce anything. It won't outlast the conversation. When talented people work and the gift is actually firing, when the work flows and everything clicks, there's a real rush in that. It feels alive. And naturally, people want more of that feeling. So they chase it. They gravitate toward the work that feels like the talent is on, and they avoid the work that feels like a grind. But the honest truth about building anything real is that most of the work is the grind. The inspired moments are the minority. Everything in between is just showing up and doing it anyway. And that in-between part is actually where things get built. When you build your whole work life around chasing the feeling of the talent being on, what you end up with is a record full of gaps. Brilliant moments spread out across long stretches of not much. And when you look at the whole picture, it's not just the highlights, the average is way below what your ability suggested was possible. Not because you weren't talented enough, because the engine only ran sometimes. What needs to change is where you find satisfaction in the work. The days that feel like grinding, where nothing flows and nothing feels inspired, those days still count. Work produced on a hard day is still work. The ability to produce consistently without waiting for the feeling is honestly the most valuable skill a talented person can develop. Because that's the skill that creates a real body of work over time. Without it, the talent never compounds. It just flashes occasionally and then disappears into long stretches of waiting for it to come back. When most people think about excuses, they picture someone who doesn't have much going for them. Low ability, low effort, low output. But some of the most convincing excuses you'll ever hear come from genuinely talented people. Because when you actually have ability, your reasons for not doing something sound reasonable. They come with evidence. They hold up under scrutiny. The person isn't even completely wrong half the time. They really could do it better under different conditions. The talent makes the excuse credible. One of the most common places this shows up is with structure. Talented people usually resist it, and they have a reason. Historically, they didn't need it. In school, they could coast, show up without preparing, absorb things fast, and still do well. The people around them needed schedules and systems and careful routines. The talented person didn't. So over time, they started thinking of structure as something that exists for people who can't perform without it. A crutch, not for them. But in the real world, structure isn't a crutch. It's just how consistent output happens. The talented person without structure will produce when the inspiration hits, when the energy is right, when things feel good. But in between those moments, the output just isn't there. Deadlines get missed or barely made. Quality swings all over the place. And the person explains this as being creative or unconventional. From the outside, though, and from the perspective of anyone trying to work with or rely on this person, what it looks like is just unreliable. And unreliable is expensive, regardless of talent. Think about what happens when someone brings a talented person in on something because they've seen what they can do at their best. They've seen the peak. But then they deal with the full experience, the inconsistency, the no-shows, the output that's sometimes genuinely great and sometimes just absent. After a while, no matter how impressive the best moments were, people stop offering the good opportunities because they've learned. Talent without reliability costs too much. The specific excuse that talented people fall back on most often is about selective effort. It sounds like, I don't do my best work unless I'm actually interested. Or it might sound like, this environment isn't right for me. Or this particular project doesn't use what I'm actually good at, so what I produce here doesn't reflect my real ability. There's always a reason why this thing right here doesn't count. And the talent is always the reason. The work is beneath the gift. The conditions don't match the gift. This isn't the real me. But here's what you see when you look at anyone who has built something over a long stretch of time. Most of the work wasn't for the gift. Most of it was ordinary. Most of it was boring. The unglamorous, repetitive, does it matter to anyone kind of work makes up the majority of any real project, any real career, any real body of output. The person who only shows up fully when the work feels worthy of their ability is going to spend most of their time either waiting or underperforming. Neither one builds anything. And I'm telling you, there's a specific gap that talented people have that most of them never notice. They never learned how to do something badly. Because things came easily, they skipped the ugly early phase that everyone else had to push through. They didn't have to grind through the awkward, slow, embarrassing stage of not being good yet. And that stage, as unpleasant as it is actually where you build the ability to stay with hard things. When you skip it, you end up without the muscle for it. So when you're at the beginning of something new, and you'll always be at the beginning of something new if you're actually growing, the discomfort of not being good yet feels like a sign that you're in the wrong place. It isn't. It just means you started. What needs to change is the story about what talent actually means. It doesn't mean you get to skip the structure. It doesn't mean the ordinary work is beneath you. If anything, it means the standard is higher. Because you actually have the ability to meet a higher standard, and not meeting it is a choice, not a limitation. The gift doesn't excuse you from the work. The gift is a reason to do the work at a higher level, every day, on every project, not just the ones that feel big enough to deserve it. There's a habit that a lot of talented people have, and it's quiet enough that most of them don't even know they're doing it. They measure themselves against the people below them, not the people ahead of them, the people behind them, the average of whatever room they're in. And when you do that, you always feel fine. You're always ahead. You're always doing well. And feeling like you're doing well when you're actually standing still is one of the more dangerous positions a person can be in. The most common version of this is just the immediate environment, the room you're in every day, your current field or circle or peer group. And if you have real ability, you're usually at or near the top of that room. People look to you, challenge you less than they challenge others, treat you like you know more. And all of that feels like confirmation that you're doing something right. It isn't. It's just what it looks like when you've calibrated yourself to a room that isn't big enough. The practical cost of this is that the gap between where you are and where you could actually be becomes invisible. You can only feel a gap when you're looking in the right direction. If your benchmark is the average of your current circle, and that average is well below what you're capable of, you're not going to feel any pull. You're not going to feel any tension. You're just going to feel comfortable. And comfortable is not a building state. It's a staying state. When talented people spend a long time in environments below their level, something gradual happens. Their standards quietly drop, not in one shot, just slowly, over time. The things that used to feel like underperformance start feeling like good enough. The pace that used to feel slow starts feeling normal. And because everybody around them is treating that level as solid, there's no pushback, no friction. The environment is just confirming the drift. And the talented person ends up living as a smaller version of what they were actually capable of, without ever making a conscious decision to do that. It helps to separate two things that people mix together: gratitude and calibration. Being grateful for where you are is fine. Being thankful for what you've built, the people around you, the progress you've made, that's legitimate and it matters. But gratitude is about appreciating what's here. Calibration is about which direction you're pointed. And those two things don't conflict. You can appreciate where you are and still point yourself towards something higher. They're not the same conversation. Where you're pointed is determined almost entirely by who you're comparing yourself to. Point the reference downward, and you'll feel like you're succeeding while you're stalling. Point it sideways, and you maintain. Point it upward, toward the people actually operating at the level you're capable of. And you'll start to feel the gap again. That gap is uncomfortable. It's supposed to be. Discomfort in the right direction is useful. And there's the way talented people explain their own history to themselves. After a few years of operating below your level, you start treating your current position as the starting point instead of as a detour from where you were originally heading. The level you're at becomes your normal. And from that normal, you feel like you're holding steady. But holding steady at the wrong level isn't stability. It's just a different kind of falling behind, slower, quieter, but still heading the wrong way. The comparison that would actually be useful is the one where you hold your current output up against what your trajectory was always pointing toward. Not to punish yourself, not to make what you've done so far feel worthless, just to get an honest look at the gap. Because the gap is real, and the potential is still real, and neither of those things has an expiration date yet. But they won't stay open forever. The people you spend time around matter more than most people want to admit. If you want your sense of what's normal to change, you have to be around people for whom your current output would feel like falling short, not people who would humiliate you. People who are just genuinely building at a serious level and treating it as the standard. That kind of proximity recalibrates things in a way that no amount of internal motivation can. When what's normal around you rises, what you do starts rising to meet it. That's not theory. That's just how people work. Talent gives you a real advantage early. That's not an exaggeration, and it's not something to minimize. In the beginning of almost anything, the person with natural ability looks better than the person without it. They learn faster, produce sooner, and build momentum more quickly. The gap is real. In the early stages, talent matters a lot. But time does something to that gap that most talented people genuinely don't see coming. It shrinks. The person who doesn't have the natural gift, but who has been working steadily, consistently, in one direction for years, they start to close the distance. Not because talent gets weaker, because consistent effort compounds. And over a long enough period, compounding effort catches up to and often passes natural ability. Talented people don't usually believe this until they've watched it happen right in front of them, because their whole life, the gift, was the thing that decided outcomes. It's hard to accept that at some point it stops being enough on its own, but it does. The long game doesn't look like much. It's just sustained effort, pointed in one direction, maintained through the boring middle sections of every phase of every project. It's not impressive. There's no good story to tell about it in the early years. It doesn't feel like the talent is doing anything the way it feels when things click on a great day. It mostly just feels like showing up and grinding. And because talented people have spent their lives being told by the results, by the environment, by the feedback, that their advantage is the gift, They almost never make the grind a priority. Nothing they've been through ever told them they'd need it. What makes sustaining the long game specifically hard for talented people is that they usually haven't built the internal equipment it requires. When things come easy, you don't develop much tolerance for the stretch where nothing is paying off yet. You haven't had to learn how to find meaning in repetitive, unglamorous work, because the interesting parts always showed up fast. The patience for delayed return, the ability to keep moving when the results aren't visible yet, those things develop through difficulty. And talent, when it works the way it's supposed to, reduces the difficulty, which means it also reduces the development. So when the work gets long, and it always gets long if you're building anything real, talented people hit a specific wall. The effort is real, the time is going in, but nothing is confirming it yet. No early signal, no quick win, no moment where the gift feels like it's working. And that absence of confirmation doesn't feel neutral. It feels like something is wrong. Like maybe this isn't the right path, or maybe the approach is off, or maybe this just isn't what they're meant for. The person who had to grind from day one reads this phase as normal. The talented person reads it as a warning sign. That difference in how you read those signals determines who stays and who quits. What the long game rewards isn't peak talent. It's not the biggest gift in the room. It's the person who figured out how to care about the work when the work isn't exciting. Who held the standard up when nobody was watching and nobody would have known the difference. Who stayed pointed in one direction when something more interesting came along and pulled at them. That person might have started with less. In year one, they probably didn't look like the one to watch. By year 8, they looked completely different because they were there in every year in between. And every piece of work they put in added to everything they'd already built. Staying pointed in one direction is actually the piece of the long game that kills talented people the most. Because talented people are often good at seeing the potential in new things. They can pick up a new idea and immediately see what it could become. They can picture themselves succeeding at it. And that excitement is real. It's not nothing. But what happens is they follow that excitement. They move toward the new, interesting thing. Then another one shows up. They move again. And after 10 years of moving toward interesting things, they have a wide, shallow trail behind them. A lot of things started. Nothing finished deep enough to actually pay off. The long game builds depth. And depth is what actually produces the kind of results that change your position in life. Not breadth, not range, not the ability to point at a lot of things you've touched. Depth in one direction over enough time builds the kind of reputation and mastery and compounding return that real talent was always capable of producing. The painful part is that talent, when it's not managed well, is actually what prevents that from happening. Not because the ability wasn't real, because the ability was treated like the finish line when it was only ever the starting gun. The long game isn't a strategy you pick up once and execute. It's a decision you make every single day, usually without any reward for making it. It's staying when leaving would be easier, continuing when the feeling is gone, keeping the standard when no one's keeping score, staying in the lane when a shinier one opens up next to you. None of that gets recognized in the short term. Nobody hands you anything for it today. But those decisions stack, and what they stack into over years is something that raw talent alone cannot produce. A real body of work built deep that didn't come from inspiration or a gift or a good week. It came from showing up for years and not stopping. That's the game. And it was always the one worth playing.